Guys, have you ever been to a bonfire party? If you have, I don't know why you haven't had these beers. Tonight, we're looking at 3 different beers, all from the same place. It's going to be heavy on the rating, so hopefully you'll stay here with us. I am Nikoli Williams, and this is Don't Worry, Beer Happy. This is a burning question. Tonight we're going to start right into it. This is the first time we've ever had this. An in-studio guest. Say hi to a good friend of mine, Chris Wilson.
Hello, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it was pretty unexpected how this turned out, but it worked out, I think. So today we actually have 3 beers. The first one that we are going to drink is this Toasted Amber Lager. And so that is this right here. Maybe I can get it straight. That is Straws Williams, live and in person. So the second one we're going to drink is called Trail Ale. It's a trail mix inspired beer. So chocolate, fruit flavors, all that kind of nuts, whatever. We'll see how that one is. And then last but not least, we will be drinking a s'mores beer, and so that is this right here. So we have these 3. I think all these are out of Texas. Yeah, so like made with Texas chocolate. I don't even know how to say the brewery's name, honestly. Maybe you can make an attempt at this. Let me pull my mic closer to me.
Where is this at?
It's right there.
Oh, Spoetzl.
Is it?
Spoetzl like pretzel, right?
As good a guess as any. So the first one that we're going to do, though, is the Toasted Amber Lager. So the Toasted Amber Lager, the vital stats, we have around 15 SRM. I mean, ambers are normally 10 to 20-ish, somewhere in there. I'm going to go ahead and pour this in a mason jar. Now, on the show, what we do is we try and get the best pour we can. We don't always get the best pour, but we're going to do our best. So I'm going to start pouring it now. Do you know how to pour? You know how to pour.
Just tilt it.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna tilt it, right? And so we're tilting it now. I can already tell that this is mason jars aren't meant for pouring beer into. I'm convinced. Is it a beer clean mason jar? It's as beer clean as it can be. I did rinse them right before the show, and they were washed prior to that. So. This is the color, a nice amber, a tan kind of color. That's a decent head on it. I didn't go crazy like I did one of the other weeks. I mean, you can tell though, speaking of beer clean, like you can tell some of the bubbles are sticking. I don't know if you can really see it there, but because the bubbles are kind of sticking to the side, I can tell it's not perfectly beer clean, which unfortunate, but it happens. I mean, I don't have equipment to ensure it's all beer clean all the time. Why use mason jars rather than good beer glasses? Because I have them right here. I just don't want to wash everything all the time. Yeah, no, okay, no. Let's not even start that. Okay. So, Chris, have you had an amber ale before?
I have not. This will be my first time.
So, normally, what kind of beer do you drink?
Usually something like Heineken, just some simple stuff,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so Heineken, you're probably getting some light struck notes because it comes in the green bottle, right? Mm-hmm. So if you ever get like a skunky kind of flavor, you might be tasting some light struck nature of the beer, which is whenever the sunlight, interacts with the alpha acids in the hops, right? So these are all canned. You're not going to taste that. I think on the can it might give us. Hold on. Can they get beer clean in the dishwasher or just with a really thorough? So I don't think they're going to be beer clean either way without a rinse afterwards first. So normally when they're washed, they go through like a 3-step process where you like rinse it out first, then you put it into this water that has like a, it's not like a sudsy soapy mixture, because one of the things that can get stuck on the glass is like if you just use normal soap that has suds, it'll kind of stick on the glass a little bit, even microscopically. And so because it's on the glass, you're not gonna have a perfectly beer clean glass. I mean, with a rinse afterwards, it might be okay, but then after that second step, they do rinse it. And then normally when you're at a bar, right, you know, they're gonna take the glass, they're gonna flip it upside down, and you might see some water dripping out of that. And then they'll press it down onto that thing that shoots the water up and around it. So it's, how is it brewed to be 0 IBU? Yeah, so I mean, they don't have any hop bitterness. I mean, they didn't intend for it to have any hop bitterness. And I think, yeah, I mean, this is a lager too, so I mean, they probably, I would guess, brewed it sort of like an American lager. Well, I mean, High Life doesn't have bitterness. Budweiser doesn't have bitterness. I mean, those kind of beers don't really have bitterness, and so I think this is a similar theme. What do you get off the nose, Chris?
Maybe a little sweet, tangy.
Yeah, I get some sweetness off of it too. Yeah, I mean, it does have hops in it, I'm sure. I don't know what kind of hops. Maybe on Untapped I can find it. Yeah, but off the nose, I do smell like a lot of sweetness, and a lot of ambers have this sort of sweetness, I think. You know, it's just, for some reason, it's just so malt forward. Now, as I've said in the past, I'm not a humongous fan of amber type ales or red ales and things like that, but we'll see how this one goes. There's no description on Untappd, so I don't know what kind of hops it's brewed with, but I would imagine that they added hops probably very late to the boil just to kind of get some aroma maybe, but they didn't leave them in there so that it could affect the bitterness too much. Now, I will say this is very, it seems very light. It seems very thin. I don't get a whole lot of, I don't know, I don't get a whole lot from it. It's almost reminiscent of just a macro brewed American light lager or an American lager. I don't feel that there's so much flavor in it. There's not a whole lot of body to it. There's not too much of an aftertaste. And it's just kind of a slightly sweeter version of that. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely pretty light. Very mellow taste. Nothing doesn't seem too complex. Just a very, very simple beer.
Right, and I think obviously they're going for something pretty simple. Like this beer, it says it's lightly toasted barley with their finest hops. Okay, so they do say that there are definitely hops in there. But yeah, I mean, according to Untappd, which I don't do too much research on this, and I don't test how bitter it is beforehand, says it's 0 IBUs. If it's accurate, you know, I'm trusting it. But if it's not accurate, then, you know, it is what it is. I don't detect too much bitterness, though. I mean, I detect more of the malt forward nature. So it's definitely, you know, that kind of sweet grain flavor, you know. I don't know, what are the thoughts you have on this? Is it something that you would drink a lot of? Is it something that you would drink again? Is it something you'd recommend?
I would drink it again. It's, you know, it's a solid beer, I'd say. Would I recommend it? It's all right. I might not, you know, tell someone to shell out to get this particular beer, but I think it's, you know, pretty standard.
So we see on here that the Untappd rating is a 3.5. Do you agree with 3.5? Is that too high? Is that too low?
I might say around a 3. I think it's a tad high. I'd probably go with a 3.
So you think that this is just a 3 flat?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would tend to agree that 3.5 might be a little high. I think that 3.5 implies to me that it's something that I like and kind of want to drink more of. And I don't know. This is something that is okay. I don't hate it, but again, I'm not a huge fan of like the amber ales. So I think for this, I will go a little bit higher because I do think that it is a good representative of the style. But I don't really like it personally in terms of what the style is. So I'm going to go with 3.2.
All right, 3.2. I like it.
Simple beer is the best beer on a hot day. Yeah, so two things, right? So does toasted barley equal malt? Yeah, so the toasted barley is the malt that's inside this beer. And the toasted barley is going to be kind of light, right? It's going to be, if you remember, for example, some of the shows that we've had on stouts, some of the shows we've had on porters, and those things have like black patent malts. They have, other more charred malts. They have darker malts. These are very light malts. So that's what the barley is. And it's just very lightly toasted to give it a little bit of a, maybe less of a bread kind of flavor, but more of maybe like a nutty flavor almost. More earthy a little bit. Kind of brings out some of those notes, I think. And yeah, I do think that on a hot day, if you're sweating, you're on the beach, something like that, maybe it would be a good choice. I mean, I would tend to want to go probably for an even lighter beer personally, maybe a Pilsner or something like that. I don't know that I would just jump to an amber ale, but it is very simple, I think. I don't think there's too much going on. It's a solid amber, but not for me, honestly.
So would you prefer to drink this on like a warm day or a cold day?
I mean, I think the best place. So this is in the Bonfire Brewski series, right? That they did, and I think that kind of makes a lot of sense. If it's like a cool night, maybe October, something like that in the fall, where it's cool. Maybe you have a jacket, but you have a big bonfire. Then I think it could be really good, So I think a cool surrounding is nice, but it could be okay on a hot day too. I mean, it's not too intense, so you're not going to feel like you're overloaded or your stomach's hurting because of it. But I don't think it's as refreshing as you might get on something else. Yeah, bourbon for cold days. I mean, yeah, that's going to warm you up for sure. I mean, it's especially if the proof is pretty high up there. Also, yeah, thank you for the commendation on the graphics. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know if we should just do something sort of like how I did it now, or originally I was kind of thinking on just making it a full screen kind of chat, but decided to go this way, just kind of keep it a little bit more normal and a little bit more how everyone's used to seeing everything. Yeah, I think it was 50 here in Nashville today. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it was something like in the 50s.
Yeah. How hot was it in Miami?
Miami was about 80 degrees. Okay. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh, then, Miami. How was Miami?
It was quite the experience, It's a beautiful place, beautiful beaches, beautiful people, I enjoyed myself.
So you're gonna go back?
For sure, well, definitely. So we can do a trip, drink some beers, on the beach.
I would probably select a different beer for the beach, and also, do they even allow alcohol on the beach? I know some beaches don't allow alcohol.
You see, probably not, but I do a lot of things that aren't allowed. So, who knows? I was drinking beers on the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as long as you hide it, they're not really going to know, especially maybe if you had like a big McDonald's cup that was styrofoam, you just put the can or something in it, put a straw into the can. Maybe you could do something like that.
Yeah. I think you're good to go with drinking on the beach. I think it's just once you get off the beach, like if you're just walking through intersections with beer, then they might stop you. But on the beach, I think you're good.
There are a lot of places though that on the beach they're like, you can't have alcohol here. I mean, I know there's been a lot of people who have done sort of like pranks where they have non-alcoholic beer on the beach, and the police get mad at them, and they're like, hey, you can't have alcohol on the beach. They just start crushing the beers, and then they're like, we're gonna arrest you, but it's like, okay, it's 0%, so it's not really a violation of the law. So I've seen that too. Yeah, Chris does not make the rules, and he does break them probably quite often. Is it healthy to drink on the beach? Now, I will say hashtag not medical advice. But
okay, so yeah, I cannot give out medical advice, so I would say that it is perfectly fine, for your stomach to, drink a little bit on the beach. Now, don't drink too much, or your liver is not going to be happy with you. But take a little drink or two, warm you up.
Drink a little beer, play a little music.
Yeah, play a little music.
Have a big time tonight, good time tonight. I don't know what the lyric is, but favorite story from living together as roommates freshman year.
Oh man.
I don't even know, honestly. Like first of all, the years run together. Like I honestly have so many stories about everything, but they're all like, what year did it happen? I don't know.
Yeah, we had a lot of their crazy experiences.
So I mean, we started out. We had a triple, right? So we had a bigger room than everybody, but it was only us two because whoever else was in there decided not to go to Wash U.
Way. Our boy Way, decided not to come through.
Is that who it was? I had no idea.
I believe it was Way. So.
Yeah, well.
Didn't come through. We missed him. Good luck to wherever he's at. But we had just the two of us do a triple, and it was nice. And Robbie a little bit.
And Robbie Summer, yeah, Robbie. Yeah. He was only an honorary member of Lee 1 because he was able to sleep on our bunk bed, my bunk bed. So, what was the first beer that Chris and I drank together? Who knows?
I think the first time I drank with everyone in general was Wild. I think freshman year Wild, we did like a power hour thing.
I did not.
I don't think you did the power hour with us.
I did not do a power hour.
No. Okay, I don't remember the first time we drank together then.
I feel like the first beer we had together was like in the lofts.
Probably.
And it could have been... I don't think I was ever at a K-Word party. It could have been, honestly, like Space Dust or something at Market Pub House. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that night?
I don't even remember where Market Pub House was.
They had the double cheeseburger thing that had grilled cheeses for buns. I don't know what it was called. Does anyone know?
Cicero's Social House?
It was what came before Social House.
Oh, okay.
I never ever went to a K-Word party, and yeah, the cardiac arrest is what it was called. Okay. So, things you'll be fighting to make sure people don't have in your career. Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of doctor you want to be or that you're interested in.
I don't even want to be a doctor. But, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to be a doctor, I'm confused about the whole doctoring thing.
I mean, I wanted to be a doctor.
And now you're just in too deep. You can't...
I'm in too deep, in too deep. If I don't finish, I gotta go missing. So, chilling with Tupac. So...
Yeah, okay, but if you had to say, all right, if I'm going to be a doctor, even if I'm required to, what kind of doctor are we looking at? Are you looking at like a family medicine doctor? Do you want to be like an ER doctor? You want to be a cardiologist? You want to be, you know, you want to be somewhere where maybe you have the longest tenure until you retire? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So right now, I'm most likely looking into internal medicine, and then really from there branch off and see what I want to do after that. I've looked into cardiology,
Okay.
so that's a thought, but I really don't know yet. I still got a lot more medicine to experience before I know for sure what I want to do.
My vote is on orthopedic surgery. So
That's my vote too, but it ain't happening.
it's, there's just something about it. Like I just really like the idea of being able to mess with the muscles and the bones and just all. I just feel like all the connective tissue and everything. I don't know. I just feel like it's the coolest part. What kind of beers do doctors prefer before and after surgery? That's a good question.
I would say no beers. I think it would be best not to have beer before surgery. If I see my doctor drinking a beer before surgery, they're not gonna be my doctor for long.
They stick to wine? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, some red wine only though.
I mean, I was going to suggest the strongest beer they can find. Maybe to calm the nerves a bit.
That's true. That is true.
Now with a steady hand, like I don't know if you can keep your hand steady if you have too much beer, but
Yeah, I'm shaky a little bit, so I don't know if I can.
Chris over here, he's like he has a scalpel he's about to cut, and he starts making like a jagged line.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of done with this one. Honestly, it's something that I would try at like a beer fest, but it's not something that I'd usually just buy a pack of, I think. Like, it's good to try. I don't really want it in the fridge. That's my honest take. So, you ready to move on to the next one?
I'm ready for the next one.
Okay. So this next one we're gonna have. This is Trail Ale. If you have ever had trail mix, that is kind of the idea with this one. So on the can it says it's an ale brewed with chocolate, nuts, dried fruit, and with natural flavors added. You can see it says trail mix inspired ale also. You can see on the can that there's a bunch of stuff on the side, kind of indicating the trail mix thing. I had a beer when I lived in Maine at a place in Gardner, Maine, and they had a dark. That was loud in the mic. They had a dark lager that I thought tasted like Chex Mix, so I told them that they should name the beer something about Chex Mix or whatever wouldn't be copyrightable, and they didn't take my advice, even though they liked it at the time, and they just named it like whatever the brewery name was, Dark Lager, and I was like, that is so boring. Like, I'm mad I even tried to help you with a name. It's like, if you're gonna ask me what I think it should be named, then you should at least name it something after you do name it, and don't just name it whatever brewing dark lager. It just angers me. So I use my creativity for literally no reason. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. We'll see how the final pour ends up. Off the top, that actually smells really good. I'm getting like some banana, some chocolate. A show with the best named beers. Yeah, I mean, that'd be good. I mean, if you have any beers that you think are named really well, definitely send them to me and I'll take a look at them. There are a lot in Maine that I know of that were named pretty good. I was a big fan of a beer from Baxter Brewing called Wicked Doc. You ever heard of Wicked Doc?
I've never heard of them.
Well, it's the name of a beer. Did you even know what I'm saying there? Wicked Doc.
I don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Okay.
But
so it's how a Mainer might say wicked dark. So, I mean, you know how the accent goes, like mock pock the con the yard.
oh, that's the main accent.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like Boston-like.
Okay, Boston.
So
Okay.
they have a lot of influence from there. You know, they used to be a part of Massachusetts.
Really?
Yeah, they did. So here's the beer. Very dark. It's actually darker, I think, than the SRM that I gave. Like I say, I just do this eyeballing some pictures, so lighting definitely throws it off. Is what it is. I don't really care about the SRM. I don't have an SRM meter anyway. Dragon's Milk. You gotta have a little something, something that. Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember the story of a little something, something. I mean, maybe if you said something about it, it might ring a bell to me. But I don't know. I've heard so many stories. I just forget them. You know. Off the nose on this though, I'm picking up heavy chocolate notes. Like it's chocolatey. I was not expecting it to be so chocolatey, honestly. I was expecting the s'mores to be the most chocolatey thing. Maybe it will be, but this definitely smells like some sort of trail mix. You know, it reminds me of something. It's just like a fruity dessert chocolate. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I think smells pretty good. I'm actually really excited to try this. I didn't know what to expect with this one.
Yeah. It smells really good.
I did not have a little too much something. I mean, did they tell us that story at the brewery that day? I don't know. I know I had a sunburn when I went to the brewery, thanks to the Giants game. You know, I was trying to see some homers hitting to McCovey Cove. Ended up, you know, wanting to stay at home forever after that because my arms were so burnt. I was like, you know, like any sort of sunlight, even through a window, I was like, it was like I was a vampire. You know, I didn't want there to be any light whatsoever. You know, and so we had to go to get aloe from, I don't know, Walgreens, CVS, something like that. I don't know. It was definitely not the way I wanted a San Francisco vacation to begin.
Yeah, I luckily have not dealt with those problems. Yeah.
Are there any secrets that you can share with us?
Be black. It'd be very easy. I'll show you.
I feel like a lot of their stories are about botched batches of beer. You know, just like Lagunitas sucks, and you know, just other things that aren't specifically what they're going for. It just happens to turn into something good somehow. So what do you think? Have you tasted it?
Yeah.
This to me, so it's listed as a brown ale, but honestly, it's very stout-like, I think, in terms of the flavor profile. I feel like it's, you know, more of a medium-bodied beer. It doesn't feel as light as this. It does have a little bit of like a dark, chocolatey, roasty aftertaste. I think it's really pleasant. I think it's really nice. It definitely, to me, is much better than the first beer that we had.
I agree.
Now, supposedly, 0 IBUs. Again, I think, yeah. And 6% alcohol. Definitely don't taste the alcohol. I mean, I know 6% is not that much, but I don't get any hints of it. I mean, it's very much like just a sweet drink.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's not like a soda, but it's a nice beer. I would actually recommend this one, and I'm going to be honest. I think the Untapped score of 3.56 is a little too low.
Okay.
I think it's a little too low.
You're really liking this beer.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think this is definitely better than the first one. I feel like it has a lot more going on, but it's not too much. Okay. So yeah, it tastes like a little fruity to me.
Yeah, there's definitely a fruity undertone. I don't know what kind of fruit it is, though. Honestly, it's so it smells almost like there's some banana in there, but I mean that's probably an ester from the yeast. I don't know if there's other berry flavors in there. It's kind of overshadowed a bit, I think, by the roastiness of the chocolate. But yeah, there's definitely some fruity undertones. Do you get any like nuttiness, cashews, or anything like that? Is there such thing as an organic beer? I mean, I guess it probably depends on your definition of organic. I don't know off the top of my head if there are. I'm sure there are things being labeled as organic beer, but does that mean that the majority of the ingredients are organic? Does that mean that the whole thing afterwards is organic? Does it mean that they just call it organic because there's no law to prevent you from marketing your beer that way? I don't know. I know that there are beers that are gluten-free. The first one of those I ever ran into was made by Two Brothers Brewing. I forget the name of it, but I actually did a case assignment on them in school. So I know they have a gluten-free one. So gluten-free is pretty big. I know that some stores have sections of gluten-free beers, which is nice if you don't want or can't have gluten. So what kind of score would you give this, Chris?
This one, I might go with a 3.8.
3.8?
Yes.
Wow. So you like this one a lot. This is almost a full point bigger than what you gave before.
This one, this one intrigues me a little bit, Like I could drink this. I could drink multiple of these and, I would put in the fridge, get a few. The other one, you drink it once, you're kind of over it. But
yeah, I mean, I was definitely kind of over that one too. Now, I don't know if you copied my score, but
whoa,
I'm also giving it a 3.8. I think it's a really good beer. I don't think it quite hits the level of a 4 for me. My 4 is a very coveted ranking, right? I mean, it's very hard to break into the 4s. I think this one is really close. I mean, I don't know what it could do to break into it. Maybe it could relax on the kind of in-your-face roastiness. I feel like there's a lot of a similarity between how this is roasty and sort of how like a coffee can be very kind of intense. I think it just kind of overpowers some things. You don't really get as much of a fruit flavor or a nutty flavor as you might expect to based on the can and the description. It's I think it's a really good beer. I think 3.56 is definitely underrated. I would like to know what they rate higher than this because 3.56 just seems like your average run-of-the-mill beer, and I think this is definitely a little bit above average. Yeah, this might be a DWBH first. I don't know if we've ever had a score that's been the same. Usually it's not, as far as I remember, but I mean, I've had a number of guests, so I mean, I haven't had that many episodes, but
will Williams' minds think alike, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Williams' minds
think alike. So, is this the kind of beer that you would go for in terms of craft beer? So I know you said you're a Heineken guy, but do you like darker beers at all? Do you ever drink darker beers?
I like anything dark. Yeah, yeah. I'm not too big of a beer connoisseur, but yeah. Generally, if I'm going, to a bar, so I'll drink an IPA.
Right.
But yeah, I'll drink a dark beer. I just usually stray away from coffee type of beers. That's the only thing that I don't really like to drink.
So you're not into porters and stouts generally?
No.
Now, if it doesn't taste like coffee and it's still a stout, would you drink a milk stout, for example?
Yeah. If I don't get a coffee taste from it, I would drink it. But if I get any hint of coffee in my beer, I'm kind of gonna stray away from that.
Now, do you drink coffee normally at all?
No, unless in dire situations, But
what would count as a dire situation?
Oh, I have an exam that I should have been studying for 17 years, and it's like the day before. I'm gonna drink some coffee.
Now, let me go ahead and assure the audience that Chris always used every last second of time that he could to study. I mean, if we were going to a psychology exam and we had to, I don't know, read 2 chapters or 3 chapters or something, that was what the exam was on, you can bet your last dollar that he had the book open reading it for like 2 hours before the exam, and as he walked to the exam, and in the chair right before the exam was given to him, and he only closed the book after he had received the exam.
Sometimes I don't even close it then.
You know, so he hopes that he had left it on a page that is the most helpful if he doesn't close the book, because then, you know, maybe he can glance and see a little something. You know, whereas if he leaves it on a page that has, you know, just sort of filler information so that they can make a longer textbook, so that they can make you pay more money at the bookstore, so that they can become rich off of poor students' backs.
You sound a little upset.
I mean, how much did you pay for books? Like, I mean, you could get them cheaper, obviously, on whatever websites, Chegg and other things. But like, if you went to the bookstore, and this happened a lot in the B school, I might add, they had these like custom case things where they didn't even have a book. It was just like 3-hole punched computer paper that they printed out and charged $150 for. It's like,
hey, look, that's the B school, man. It's business, you know. It's a business.
I mean, you know, I think that they should have just given us the files so that we could use the money that the school gave us to print, you know, because the B school had more printer money than arts and sciences. But not as much as engineering or art, obviously, because art had like unlimited, whereas the B school had like $80 worth or $100 worth or something like that. Yeah, I mean, this was just lesson 1 on how to rip people off. Look, all you got to do is create a school and then make them think that they have the opportunity to get books from other sources, but then say it's required, and then say you can only buy this one. I mean, look, I feel bad for the people whose professor write the book and then say it's required and then never use the book, right? I won't name names, and maybe they use the book some, but I mean, it's a racket. Honestly, it's a racket. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, I stopped buying books after like first semester, freshman year. I never bought another book.
Well, you must not have been in any B school classes, because, well, actually, granted, they weren't technically books. They were just pieces of printed paper.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I was supposed to buy books, but I did not, you know?
yeah. There were times where I would wait to get something, and I didn't end up getting it just because we didn't actually use it. I mean, I remember there were times where I would do a test or a paper or something, and they'd be like, I can tell you really did a lot of the reading and thought critically about it. And I'm like, well, I just basically copied into my mind everything you said about the topic. And then I just regurgitated every word that you said about it. So maybe you did the reading, and you told me about it pretty well, but that's all I can say about it. So this kind of beer, is this the kind of beer that you would associate with, you know, our theme, a bonfire? So the burning question tonight, right? So the reason the episode's named what it is, because, look, the theme is about having a bonfire. The Go Live, obviously, was about a bonfire party. And I think all these beers are supposed to be able to be drunk at a bonfire, right? Like, that's the ideal situation. That's the situation where you're going to crack open this beer, you have the fire coming at you, you have the cold night kind of over the side that you can sort of feel, and you just have a bunch of loud music, a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. I do think this would be a good bonfire type of beer, like, you know, on a cold day. I definitely would prefer to drink something like this on a cool evening as opposed to a warm day.
Yeah, I think this especially is very heavy on your stomach. If you drink too much of it, your body's probably just going to be like, ugh, how do I even move forward? Because it is kind of heavy. But, I mean, it's obviously not as heavy as some Imperial Stout or something like that. It is just a brown. But it's still pretty heavy. I mean, the chocolatey notes in there are very, very loud. The chocolatey notes are almost as pronounced as I've ever tasted them, honestly. Even in some double chocolate stouts or Gunner's Daughter or anything like that. I don't know that I've ever had such a pronounced and clearly identifiable chocolate flavor, because a lot of times chocolate can be masked by roastiness, can be masked by nuttiness, can be masked by a lot of other things, coffee, but this is just pure chocolate. Like, I feel like this is a chocolate bar. Mentioning Gunner's Daughter in every episode challenge is still alive. Yeah, I mean, look, Gunner's Daughter is amazing, and I will have it on this show at some point. I just have to acquire Gunner's Daughter again. Look, Gunner's Daughter is one of the best beers ever brewed by anyone. Okay, Gunner's Daughter, it's just a chocolate peanut butter stout, man. Okay. Made in Westbrook, Maine by Mass Landing. I will shout them out.
Shout out Westbrook, Maine.
Every single time, even after we've already, given it a spot on the show. Like, it's that good. I give it a 5 every time I have it, every variation. I mean, you heard it last show, right? Justin also agrees. It's an amazing, amazing beer, and I love it. I mean, a lot of people love it too. It's just... There's nothing quite like it. I mean, I remember my first experience with that kind of beer, Absence of Light by Four Hands, and it was amazing. I don't know what I rated it. You could probably look at you could probably look it up on Untappd, but you just Gunner's Daughter. I don't know who Gunner is. I don't know who his daughter is. I'm thankful for them both. Okay.
I would like to meet Gunner's daughter.
I should have known that was going to be the comment. I mean. And maybe we'll meet her tonight.
Yeah, she's probably pretty cute.
So, I mean, look,
like, you're not gonna name a beer after your daughter if she's not,
That's true, but I mean, the beer is like a full-bodied, very, sweet, dark, chocolatey, peanut buttery, amazing thing, right? Like, I don't know. Is that as feminine as you would want the beer to be?
Are you a paid representative of this Gunner's Daughter beer? How much they paying you? How much they putting on your books?
We are not sponsored by Mass Landing. However, I would be open to being sponsored by Mass Landing. Look, even their beers that aren't Gunner's Daughter, all of their IPAs, they have amazing designs on the cans. They're just awesome. The beers themselves taste great. I mean, I don't think I've had a beer from them that is less than like a 3.5 to 3.8, right? Like, that's like their worst beer.
Wow, that is saying something.
So,
what is the highest you've rated a beer before?
I mean, there are a number of beers that have 5s, right? Obviously, the beer that always gets a 5, no matter what. Look, they could do anything to it, and it will get a 5 from me every single time. You know what it is? Chat knows what it is.
I don't know.
So, the beer that I will always rate a 5 is from Lagunitas. Yes, and it is the Waldo's Special Ale. The 420 Special. The limited run that they do every year around your birthday, actually.
Hey.
It's very dank, very strong, but it never tastes like it's 11.3% or 10.4% or however strong that it is every year. It changes, but it's just the best triple IPA ever.
Okay, that's the best triple IPA. I need to try that drink.
Yeah, I mean, look, you'll be able to get one here soon, probably. I would say in a month, maybe month and a half, you'll probably find it. I don't know how early it comes out, but yeah, it's every year around 420 because you know how they're into the devil's lettuce there at Lagunitas.
The devil's lettuce.
So,
please elaborate on the devil's lettuce.
Well, they're into dank flavors, okay? The owner is, he gets a lot of his inspiration, or he did at the time. He got a lot of his inspiration, I think, from his smoking endeavors. He...
Cigarettes?
No, Mary Jane.
Okay, all right.
Uh,
I got you.
yeah, what they call weed in some places.
Yeah. The weed.
The weed.
Stay off the weed.
Yeah. So you know, I associate that with them probably the heaviest. I do know actually Baxter Brewing, they had some beer at some point that I was talking to one of the brewers about, where they named it something related to weed, but it wasn't like directly related. And when they submitted the name to the governing body that has to approve the names of beers before they're allowed to come out on the market, they said, nope, too close to marijuana, you can't have it. I mean, did you know that there was a governing body that did that? Like, you're not allowed to just name a beer anything you want.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think if it's too over the top in terms of, like, encouraging people to do things that they deem negative, or if it's encouraging people or talking about illegal things, then they won't allow it.
Won't allow it. All right.
So they don't like it and they don't allow it. I mean, that's the combination there. So any final thoughts on this beer? I think at the very end I'd like to kind of talk about all three of them as a whole and the pack as a whole. But this is definitely my favorite so far. I would obviously drink another one of these.
Yeah.
Really at any time. I mean, this is something that I would actually buy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, better beer than the first one. A lot richer. You know, I like this beer.
He likes rich things, you know.
If you know any rich things, let me know.
He's specifically saying if there are any ladies who are rich, he would like to talk to you.
I was just talking about beers.
Okay.
Beers.
So the last one that we're going to do today is the Shiner S'more. And this one I'm really expecting a lot of chocolatey flavor. There's probably going to be some marshmallow. There's your ASMR of the can opening. This is not an ASMR channel, by the way, but... Now this pour, I'm pouring it into the amazing Lagunitas glass. Now this is also categorized as a brown. And actually, let me input my 3.8 into Untapped. Are you using Untapped again, Chris?
I am back on Untapped.
He is back on Untapped.
It's been a while. You know, I've been MIA, but I'm back.
Now, did you check in? I think I didn't check the first one. Did you check in these beers?
I did not.
You did not.
I have not yet.
Are you gonna forget to check them in?
I will check them in. I will check them in tonight. All three of them.
Okay.
So first one had a 3 for me. The second one had a 3.8.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, so this one actually has details on it. So this one says, it's inspired by everyone's favorite campfire treat. This limited time anniversary brew is made with dark, roasted malt that serve up notes of cinnamon and caramel, backed by subtle hints of graham cracker and vanilla. It's a full-bodied, slightly sweet ale that's sure to make you one happy camper. Now, I mean, this brown ale, it says to me, this is going to be amazing. I mean, that's what the description just told me. Okay, there were like 6 lines of text, and all they really had to say is you're going to love it. So if I don't love it, I'm going to be upset. Now, the vital statistics on this, very dark. It's probably not a 38, but, you know, it is very dark. A lot of the pictures that I see of this are almost stout-like. So that's why we put that. But now that I look at it in my glass under my light, I mean, especially if I turn on my front light here, it's definitely more amber. So it's probably more around like a, I don't know, mid-20s, high 20s maybe. I don't know. But anyway, 20 IBU, so there should be a little bit of bitterness, and only 5%. So this one is less strong than the Trail. It is stronger than the Toasted Amber. I don't get as much aroma from this one. I don't get a super chocolatey aroma. I mean, there's obviously a little bit, but I think it's kind of a little bit muted. Especially considering the last one didn't even have, I don't know, like in my mind, when I think of a trail mix, I don't just go to chocolate, right? But when I think of s'mores, I think chocolate is the main ingredient. So I would have expected chocolate on this one to be a whole lot more pronounced, but I'm going to try it. We'll see how it is. So I think this one, it is lighter than I expected. I want to say the carbonation on it, the toasted marshmallow is the centerpiece of s'mores. Yeah, I mean, maybe. And I think on this one, you kind of get that hint of marshmallow underneath, and you also get a hint of the chocolate, but it's very light on the tongue. I mean, I think the word's effervescent, right? And you have a lot of that carbonation sort of, I don't know, evaporating off the tongue. You kind of get a little bit of a tingly feel, right? I think it's probably more highly carbonated than the other ones. Because it's like a, I don't know, it doesn't seem as full-bodied as they had made it out to be. And whenever you drink it, it just sort of turns a lot into carbonation. I think there's a lot of carbonation in this, which kind of makes it lighter. I think generally, whenever you have a lot of carbonation, those are the kinds of things that you would put into a beer that you want to be, I guess, enjoyed during a very hot summer day, right? You want it to be super light, super thin. You know, you don't want any off flavors in there. You just want something that the masses are going to like. You want something that is very carbonated so that it feels refreshing. It feels like it cleans your palate. And this, I don't really get something that sticks on the palate. I think it's, you know, obviously stronger than like the lager that we had earlier, but I don't really get sort of an intense roasty flavor that just sticks there. Now, when you compare this one to the last one that we had, what do you think in terms of the flavors?
I definitely think the previous beer was a lot more flavorful. This one is a lot more subtle with on the flavors. I think it's all right. I think this beer for me is a little bit better than the first one, but not quite as good as the second beer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a good beer. I like it, but I don't like it as much as the previous one. But I do like it more than the first. I mean, I think it does also make sense that this would go with a s'mores. So I think if you made s'mores with this and then you had sort of like our dessert pairing episode that we had a couple weeks ago, you know, it would go really well with toasted marshmallow. Although not burnt. Like, I don't know. These people who like their marshmallows to be blackened, you know, they literally burn the thing and it starts growing like all kinds of humongous things out the side of it. I don't know. I don't like that. My kind of marshmallow that I like, I just like a light toasted color. I don't want it to be deformed because the fire has like destroyed whatever the marshmallow actually was, right?
Ain't nothing wrong with no black marshmallow, man.
Bro, I don't want to have all this like burnt garbage, you know, in my mouth. It's just not good. How does this one compare to the s'mores milk stout that I had on DK's episode? Yeah. It is a whole lot less full, right? And it's also less sweet. So this one, I really get a marshmallow overtone when I talk about the flavors and I think about the flavors. The chocolate is sort of there, but it's just to sort of hold it together, I think. It's not the star of the show. Carcinogenic marshmallows can be fun.
Huh?
What do you think, Doc?
Let's speak after, you know. Let's.
Yeah, so I think the stout that was a s'more stout, it was very intense, right? It was very heavy on the palate. This, because it has all this carbonation, I don't think is as heavy on the palate. I don't think that it makes you feel as, I don't know what the word is, but you know, like sometimes after you drink a heavy beer, you're just kind of like, oof,
Bloated?
I'm out of it. Yeah, I mean, you could be a little bit bloated. Your stomach could kind of hurt a bit. I mean, I don't think this will do that to you, right? I think it gets a lot of the flavors that are in s'mores, but it does not give you the same sort of full-bodied feeling that you get from a lot of stouts. The stouts feel like they're very heavy, whereas this is sort of middle of the road at most. When I think about the score, so on Untappd is a 3.63. I think that's the highest of tonight of all the averages on Untappd.
Really?
Well, yeah. Hold on. What were the other ones? So yeah, the other ones we had a 3.56 and a 3.50. So we actually had these in order of the Untappd score, which isn't necessarily what we'll always do, but this time it just happened to be that way. I don't know. I think this one's definitely the second best. I don't think that it should be higher than the second one that we had.
I agree. If I were to give this one a score, I would go with a 3.5.
3.5. Yeah, so this is where it's kind of difficult for me. I'm trying to figure out between a 3.8 and a 3.2, where does this fall, right? So I have 0.6 of a score to allocate in some manner, right? And I think that it is closer to the second beer in terms of how much I like it and how good it is than it is the first. So I don't feel like it's fair for me to give it a 3.5. I mean, for you, obviously, that's a little bit higher than what you gave the first one because you gave it a 3.0, so that's quite a bit more. I think I'm going to go a little bit higher than you. I'm going to go maybe only one higher. I'm going to go with 3.6. I think 3.6 is fair. It's a very good beer. It's lighter than I expected. It doesn't have as much flavor as I expected, but it's still very solid. And, I mean, I would definitely recommend people to try it. I think it's good. It would actually be interesting to try this with the s'mores one that I had on episode 4, I think. Because, yeah, I think the s'mores thing is kind of interesting, but I don't know. I don't know what the best way to do a s'mores beer is. And so I know that the rating's different, and I probably rated that one higher. I don't remember. I would imagine I did. But I think it'd be kind of cool to sort of just see which one is more pure s'mores flavor, right? Like sort of which one can I taste the most chocolate in, which one can I taste the most marshmallow in, which one can I taste the most graham cracker flavor in.
Graham cracker?
I mean, that's a part of s'mores, isn't it? Unless you're just eating chocolate and marshmallows. I mean, do you taste any graham cracker in this one?
I cannot recall any graham cracker.
I mean, I think I kind of get a graham cracker note with the cinnamon, because there is a bit of a spice, right? I think there's some spice underneath that is sort of overshadowed by the chocolate and the marshmallow, but it's definitely there. And I think that's sort of where they're putting the graham cracker flavor. I think it comes from the cinnamon.
Okay. I didn't get too much of the graham cracker, but I respect it.
Well, taste it again. See, do you taste any cinnamon? Like, do you taste any spice at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
And I think this is something that happens a lot whenever you're trying beer, right? If you don't taste a lot of different beers, then you may miss out on certain flavors, right? Just because you're not used to tasting it, right? If you're only drinking Heineken, basically you're only used to drinking, skunk water. So
hey, relax on the Heineken, man. All right, chill.
Well, actually, Heineken owns Lagunitas, if I'm remembering correctly. And Lagunitas is amazing. We love them here on Don't Worry, Beer Happy. So I don't have any problems with them, but I do think that the Heineken proper, it's just there's no reason to serve things in in clear or green bottles these days. I am a huge proponent of cans. I think cans, one, they block out all sunlight. They block out, all of the oxygen, right? So it doesn't oxidize as quickly inside because there's not as much oxygen in there. And they're much easier to recycle. You can just melt that down quickly and easily. I just feel like it's the way to go. I mean, I know Heineken is not like an American craft brewer, but I just don't understand why any brand would want their brand to be, you're going to drink our beer, but you're going to drink the skunked version that was intentionally skunked almost. Because once you put that in a store and you leave it out, right, and the sun hits the top of the bottle and, it ages for 3 months, it's not going to be the same quality that it would have been before. So I would actually be curious to taste it right out of the brewery to see if it tastes different than you normally taste on shelves. And I would also be curious to see if I intentionally skunked a Heineken beer, if it tasted much different than the beer just bought from the store as is, right? To see how much it was actually skunked while it was at the store on the way to the store. So I think we both agree on the ordering of these, right? I think the ordering that we had was the Trail Ale, the S'mores, then the Toasted. I think that's a fair ordering. I don't know if anyone would pick the Toasted Amber to be first. I just feel like there's not so much going on that. I feel like you could interchange either the S'mores or the Trail Ale, which one you like best, because you may like a certain piece of that more. But I just feel like on the Toasted, it's just so simple that it just cannot receive that good. I mean, I guess unless you're just a amber lager aficionado and you love that kind of stuff and you only go for things like that, you might say, oh yeah, that's the best beer here. But I just honestly don't see anyone going for that out of these three.
Yeah. It was rated pretty high, though. It was, what, a 3.5?
It was a 3.5, but you have to take that with a grain of salt because you never know what people's ratings are on, right? I mean, everyone has their own rating scale. Like mine, if it's a 3.5, that's a little bit under what my average rating is. So my average rating is like a 3.61 or so. Some people could rate it based on how much they like the beer. Other people, like I try and rate it a little bit based on how much I like it and a little bit based on how good I think the beer is in that style, right? So sort of like a judging kind of deal.
So if you're thinking your run-of-the-mill beer, what would you rate that? Just your average beer?
Like, what, like a Budweiser?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, a Budweiser is probably going to be around a 2.5, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Because how I was thinking my ratings is that, your an average beer would be a 3.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing, right? With Untappd, you can do it however you want, and no one knows how you do your ratings, right? So if you put that as a 3, then and you have your reasoning behind it, well, it's good if I know your reasoning and I'm looking at your score, but if I'm looking at the average, everyone has their own way of doing things, and so you can never fully rely on it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it deserves a 3.5, and I also don't think that anyone would rate it more highly than either of the other two. I mean, it wasn't rated more highly than the other two, and I think we flipped the second and the third one in terms of how highly we rated them. So I'd be curious to know if anyone's had these, or if anyone does try them in the future. I know that this is a very limited run, so I don't know if it'll even be in stores anymore at this point, because I did get it a little while ago, and I've had it kind of in the vault. But yeah, I mean, overall, what do you think of this pack? So if you were to go to a bonfire party, you had music playing, you had the bonfire, you had all these beers, I mean, would you be satisfied with this variety pack? Would you not?
I would definitely be satisfied, especially with, the last two. Yeah, I think those are definitely some good beers. Overall, as a pack, yeah, I'd be happy with them,
So I know that we've done this before. Kind of the only rating that some guests have said that matter are the yes or no, right? It's not the number that matters. It's, would you drink this again? Would you tell someone to buy this? do you like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a yes for you on all of these.
Yeah, if it as a pack, I'm saying yes.
Okay. But as individuals, you would say no on 1 or 2 or 3?
I wouldn't buy a pack of the first beer.
Right.
I wouldn't buy a pack of these.
Okay.
But if it came with the other 2, I would definitely buy a pack.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I wouldn't want a pack of the first one, but I think it's good enough to include, right? It's not horrible. It's not, the cheesy beet feet beer that I've had in the past, right?
It's all right.
It's all right, yeah. I mean, some people might like it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I had for today's show. I think that this pack was something that was really interesting. I think it does do what it intends to do. It is definitely a bonfire brewski sort of feel. And I think they did a good job with all the beers, but especially the trail ale. It's definitely above the other 2 for sure. I'd actually be interested to see what other beers this company has, because I think they do a good job. So now I know you haven't been into all the shows, so you don't know what we do here at the end, as a lot of guests do not. The way we send everything out is I'm going to say, don't worry, and you're going to say beer happy. All right?
All right.
So you ready for this? You're being put up on the spotlight. This is you. If you mess it up, we're not editing it out. We don't edit these. These are unedited. When these go up, I didn't take out any parts. So if we mess up, we mess up. If things are wrong, things are wrong.
All right.
It'll be cemented into history.
I'm slightly nervous. However, I think I can do it.
Well, look, if you can't do this, you can't be a doctor. Let's think of it that way. So if you get this wrong, you may as well not even try. All right?
All right.
So once again, thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you saw some beers that you thought were interesting. Maybe some of the discussions you thought piqued your interest, and maybe you'll try beers like this in the future. Let me know if you do have beers that you think we should try. Let me know if you have beers that have good names, because that is an interesting topic. And like always, don't worry.
Beer happy.
Beer happy. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great rest of the night, and we will see you next week.
Cheers.